Let's see how many seconds I can go without fidgeting with
You
things
did that
on my
way
wrist
better
this
than
time.
I've
been hanging out with Kyle?
a lot. That's actually where I get it from. Yeah.
Yep, that's where I got it from too. Good old Kyle.
Perfecting the harmony of your mouth farts.
Dude, it's honestly a long
different-
time he would do it, and I'd be like, bro. And he's like, that's like not real.
You got
right?
different octaves.
It is real.
I mean, technically it is.
Bro.
It is
It's
an
real
orifice.
to me.
Yep.
Pushing out gas.
We're just a big meat sack of.
It's a head fart.
It's a tube.
We're just meat sacks of sphinxers.
It's just, it really is. That's disgusting, but you're right.
Welcome back to Artistry Unearthed. We are Cryptic Tattoo and Social Gallery here in Springfield, Missouri. I am native Mammoth Ink.
David James.
And I'm Kelsey of Ruby Blue Tattoo.
Right on. And with us is a very, very special guest. A very good, very close friend.
Thank you.
An incredible artist. An amazing musician of many different genres.
Damn, that means a lot. Shit. I got recognized for that. Damn, dude. Thanks. I appreciate that.
A warrior of cancer.
Mm.
And last but certainly not least, the owner of Infinium Tattoos and Piercing in Springfield, Missouri at the Battlefield Mall.
Yeah.
Stephan Sandor.
Thanks, man.
How you doing, man?
Yeah. Thanks
I'm okay. I'm better now hanging out with you guys.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet,
right.
dude.
Good.
So there's
We
a
can make
lot
your
to
day
talk
good.
about.
Yeah, there is.
We have a lot to talk about, and we're really excited to have you. Like it's been a little while coming, and thanks for braving the snow drifts. to be here
Yeah,
with us.
dude, of course. Thanks for having me,
The
man.
generic Missouri weather.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It was 70s all week, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember
Mhm.
that? Did we dream that? Okay.
No,
Right.
Yep, it was 70s, and they're like, oh yeah, winter storm. And I'm like, nah. No, I woke up and I was like, oh, like 4 or 5 inches at my house, something like that.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
pretty crazy. I was
I don't
stuck
think
for
it
a while.
even
Yep. that's
lasted
what we
4
had.
or 5 hours, though.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
30 minutes later, it was mud.
Yeah. Yeah, we never get to enjoy it for long. That's for sure.
So, Stephan, we've known each other for a few years through.
Dude, like
Yeah.
forever. I've
It's
known
been
you
a while,
so long now.
But there's a lot of history about you and a lot of stories that we've talked about that I really want to take advantage of now
Yeah,
to really
dude.
dive into, because you are not originally from Missouri. You are from California, right? Is
Mhm.
that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
So where in California were you from?
San Luis Obispo. So about 4 hours, 3.5, 4 hours north of LA. So it's like between San Francisco and Los Angeles, like smack dab right in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
right,
what
off,
was-
right off the 5?
Right off the 5?
Right off the 5.
You Californians and your slang.
405 to 5, and you take that. You remember that? Was that
It's an
SNL? That
SNL,
yeah,
yeah.
SNL thing. Yeah.
So growing up, how old were you when you moved from there?
Oh, dude, I was just like a wee little lad, man. It was definitely. I actually don't know the exact year, but I know I was maybe like. Trying to think, like maybe 10, something like that.
10? Okay.
But I don't know the exact year. It was like a big whirlwind. What was going on in my life from like just moving out here with my dad.
Yeah.
Just to get the hell out.
Do you
of there.
remember much of your childhood like there in California? Like what?
No, it was
what was your family doing?
No, it was riddled with a lot of like trauma and just bad shit. So I think like my like little brain was like, no, we're not gonna acknowledge any of that. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So
okay.
one of those things. So
And was your dad working in the industry, in the music industry?
oh yeah. He
Yeah.
had a recording studio in San Luis Obispo. Yeah, so he had been in it a long time. He used to live in Van Nuys, and he was in bands and all sorts of stuff when he was a kid. And then he moved to San Luis Obispo and opened up a studio and started doing like demo recordings and live recordings, and produced oh my gosh, what is it? Intrinsic, and some of those guys went on to meddle into Moto Grader, which was like
Oh, yeah.
associated with Five Finger Death Punch and like all sorts of
Oh, wow.
weird shit. Yeah. So my dad's been around, and then he started doing touring and with some of the bigger names and brands when we moved out here. So he actually came out here to do that and like clean up his life and stuff like that. and
Oh,
raise
really?
me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fucking crazy out there.
And you moved here with your dad. Was it just you and your dad?
Yeah, it was just me and my dad. My mom was like nowhere.
Really?
Yeah, she was an addict. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
yeah, one of those things.
So did you have family that stayed behind in California?
Oh, sure. Like my whole family stayed in California. Me and my dad were the only ones to come to Missouri. My sister eventually moved to Colorado, but yeah, me and my dad were the only ones. And then my future stepmom eventually came out here. Actually, no, I reversed that. She came out here first and went to Branson, and her and my dad were really good friends. And then she knew what my dad was going through, trying to get the hell out of there. And then she was like, dude, you should come to Branson. There's theaters here and they could implement your like sound engineering shit. And that's how we ended up out here.
Okay, I see. So I was going to say, what would bring somebody from California to Missouri? Was it a straight shot?
Yeah. We literally packed up $20 and was like, let's go to whatever the fuck that state is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That's wild. So your dad pursued his music career here doing the same work?
Yeah,
Like,
essentially he upgraded and went to like live. Well, he's always done that, but yeah, he just worked at the theaters in Branson, like in the 90s when Branson was actually like really hopping, you know, when it was booming. So he was like managing the Grand Palace for a while and stuff like that. And so I was like growing up around still studios and theaters and weird shit like that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And that's where my leading is kind of leading to is like you were pretty like surrounded by like the music industry and really just art in general. And the creative industry. So
Yep. Pretty
was that
much.
something that you knew early on that you wanted to get into, or did you just kind of grow on you?
Like tattooing or like just in general
Like,
art?
I've known you as an artist in a lot of different mediums before you stepped into tattooing.
Yeah, you know, and I appreciate that because like I've been like struggling with my whole like shit lately, or I was, and I was like trying to like, what am I? And I was like, dude, I just realized I'm an artist, right? Like music and tattoo or whatever. But no, I actually like as far as like theater, like I've always written music just because I've been around it and I really love it. It's a great form of self-expression, but I never really wanted to go in like the music industry too much just because I saw how like absorbent it was of my dad's life and his time.
Right.
But I've always wanted to do tattooing and writing music, stuff like that. But as far as like theater work and stuff like that, if that's what you're asking, I was like, fuck that, dude.
I'm just trying to get an idea.
I mean, I did it for like a couple years with Kyle, you know, and I was like,
yeah.
no way, dude, I'm getting the hell out of here. This is terrible.
No, and I've you know, of all the things that I dabble in, I feel like I'm responsible for like, well, this is my life now. This is who I am. Yeah. Music is one of those things where I'm just like, I am okay with just doing this for funsies. Like, write an album, play it a little bit, record it.
That's what it's supposed to be. Good. That's like your best work is like when you make it fun and when you know, it's just a form of like pure self-expression that you don't like hold what is it like or expectations to. Like I've learned a lot to like let those go. You know, it's just like whatever. You know, just be you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
So you when you said that you and your dad had moved here, your mom stayed behind, and then and she and your sister moved to Colorado, right? Yeah. Is that the same sister?
No, that's so I had a stepsister, which was Gail's daughter, and that's the one that's no longer with us. Her and I were like really close, even though she was my stepsister. And then I got a half sister, which is Amy. She lives in Colorado, and then I have a brother somewhere the fucking out in the world.
Okay,
it's somewhere out there. I don't know.
Very cool. No, and it's just it's unfortunate though that the family, you know, like splits up. And
dude, the 80s, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. It's like the 80s. Like all of us after the 80s, like our family trees are all fucked up now because of that whirlwind of amazingness.
But your dad and you like start like he planted seeds here for the two of you, and he, you know, like, and you were really young at this time, right? So. It's impressive, and I haven't really gotten to sit down and just like chat with the guy, but I'm sure he could blow my mind with all the experiences and stories. But it obviously left a huge imprint on you, at least in a way, like from the outside looking in.
Yeah,
you never hesitated to get in front of a microphone, pick up guitar. You learned drums. You were the very first drummer in my last band. You were the very only reason we were able to play any show. It was a cesspool castle in Joplin, Missouri.
God, dude. Barely enough forever ago, man. That's crazy.
Barely enough room for his kit, but he did it. He stepped up. Within a week, you learned the songs, and you were the reason we were able to play a live show in the last project. Anyways,
I remember that. Damn, dude.
There was no instrument that you wouldn't pick up and just get in front of a microphone. And you were a huge inspiration to my brother-in-law, one of the greatest bass players I've ever known.
Oh, Kyle. Yeah, dude. I love Kyle. He's so fucking good.
So it's always interesting to get a deep like look at where it all started and where it came from.
Yep, that's how it happened. I mean, my dad had a studio and he just wanted to do it. And actually, his step grandfather, his name was Franz. He's like some like Belgian guy that was like fucked up all the time, drinking Schlitz and stuff. And he just needed like a business loan to like start a studio, and he did. And like, the guy was like making like his own mixed tapes from reel to reel before that was even a thing, like using razor blades and scotch taping them together.
Oh,
Yeah. And my dad was like, oh my God, dude, my step grandfather's the shit, man. Like, and so, yeah, it goes way back, you know?
DJ Franz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
DJ Franz. It's like
Gotcha.
Luxembourg, Franz Luxembourg, or whatever, dude. He was
Yeah.
cool. He was cool.
No, that's really cool. No,
Yeah.
you guys. I mean, so you lived here. It was off Lake of the Ozarks for a little while,
Or Table Rock, yeah.
Table Rock. That's
Mhm,
right.
yeah.
That's right. No, it was always fascinating learning about you guys and hearing your story. And I understand you had mentioned that you actually had a pretty close relationship with Moto Grader, right?
Yeah. Matt Nunez, the guitar player, is one of my dad's like really longtime friends. And so the drummer of Moto Grader was the drummer of Intrinsic, the metal band that my dad produced in the 90s. And they were like voted for like the 1989 like deep cuts or whatever, right there with like Anthrax and like all sorts of big names. And then that drummer went on and met, Matt. And then they started Moto Grader, and Ivan, the lead singer, eventually went on to do the Five Finger Death Punch shit or whatever. So it was like a weird little, it's just the way it evolves in the music industry, just people just know people and then they just do their thing. Yeah. So
that's really cool. That's really cool.
It's pretty interesting.
Being an art, you did airbrush painting and stuff like at theme parks for t-shirts and like what inspired you picking up art, especially in that regard?
Honestly, I was kind of thrown into it in high school. I was like a really shitty kid. I was always getting in trouble doing really fucked up things. And then my art teacher was like, oh my God, this kid's gonna like kill himself or be like, be in trouble all the time or just do something dangerous. So like, he just like pulled me aside and was like, yo, dude, you're going to come to art class and I'm going to teach you how to airbrush. And he went to like the principal and superintendent was like, this kid, just trust me on this. And then he just threw an airbrush in my hand and just taught me that. And then immediately out of high school, I already had a job and a career and stuff like that. And I wanted to do tattooing back then. He's like, nah, man, like, you don't want to do that. It's like a dangerous industry. And like, I'm sure like it probably was back then, especially for like where my headspace was, But yeah, I airbrushed to like Whitewater and like Silver Dollar City and like, the Branson crowds and all that stuff. And then even like the mall, actually, like right in that same hallway my shop's at.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Friggin' trippy. Yeah, so
just putting like a beach on everything, like the same
pretty much
beach you drove over.
And
it was like the same
name with
5,
a
10
little
designs.
star blast on it.
Yep.
Putting people's names in it.
Heart. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't have the luxury of just like printing a font or anything. You actually had to learn how to.
Yeah,
like,
it's actually like translated a lot with like I didn't expect myself to pick up tattooing as fast as I did and it was because of airbrushing. Like I noticed like the hand movements and the wrist and like the flicking or the drawing lines or just hand drawing names or letters on people is like super easy. It was pretty cool. I was like, damn, I guess like it was all meant to be kind of thing, So
have you ever thought about doing radio? Because everybody's hearing your voice.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Dude, every time.
He's got one of those voices.
Every time. Yeah, I would like to. I just don't know where to start with it. So
yeah, well, Mammoth Ink gets animated. I'll probably have. You'll be the Mark Hamill of the show, where you're doing like 40% of the background voices.
Heck yeah, that'd be awesome, man. I would love to do that. That'd be so fun. We'd have so much fun doing that.
Yeah, I know. Just ad libbing.
Yep.
Stuff. Like, apparently, this episode's 30 minutes longer now.
Yep. Yeah, I'd be super into that. You just let me know.
That'd be badass. Yeah. So we're jumping around a little bit, but so you had the early starts of an artist, and it was an art teacher that you said more than anything.
Yep.
And I think that's what I blame mine on too. She actually told me that I had something. So, and I'm pathetic. So, I'm a sucker for people liking me. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just keep making stuff.
Someone gave you a compliment in 8th grade, and it's like, there's my life path.
Yeah,
found it.
Yeah. But isn't that like what you need though? Like as a kid, it's just like we're forced to go through this like weird mass. I don't know. Everybody that is listening or watching or everybody here gets it. You're just like put in this just conveyor belt kind of style of like education, and it's like your individuality gets lost and you kind of lose yourself, especially like when you're a kid trying to find yourself and create yourself, right? And then all it takes is one person that you look up to just be like, hey, you're doing well. This is what you're meant to do. You've got a skill or you've got a place doing this. And like, it completely changes how you view and go about your life as a young person, and it can totally have a ripple effect with you, with people around you. And it's just such an immensely positive thing. And like, I don't know, man. Teachers are like fucking so underappreciated. I know everybody probably knows that and agrees with that, but fuck, dude. Without that guy, I don't even know where I'd be without Mr. Locke. Mr. Locke, if you ever watch this, hell yeah, fuck yeah. You're awesome. You're cool.
So then you went from doing airbrushing on like t-shirts straight into tattooing?
No, dude. So I was always like, I've always wanted to like start a business, and I was like, dude, the economy sucks, the government sucks. The only way to get ahead is to work for yourself, right? Whether that's like you're being a contractor or whatever, So then I went into warehousing for a while to get, I know that's like a weird like flip, but I went into warehousing for a while to get some experience and shit like that and get management experience. And I realized it wasn't going anywhere. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to make money and just try to start businesses. So I tried starting like online marketing. I started doing like e-commerce. I started like trying to do social media apps. Like I built this huge social media app for like car meets and like, dude, in other words, everything over and over and over again. And then finally I just like stumbled into tattooing when I got diagnosed with cancer is how that happened. I was like, I kind of like went back into the vault. Like, what do you really want to do? And then it kind of happened. So yeah, I just, I knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't go straight into tattooing. I just spent a lot of years just trying to start businesses, just try to get myself in a better situation than,
Where did you apprentice?
Springfield Ink.
Okay.
When was that?
Yeah, that was 2018, like when I was diagnosed. Yeah. I was just like,
how did that go? Was that
my apprenticeship?
Yeah, that couldn't have been
it was okay. Without me getting into too much detail, out of respect for Ron, the guy who owns the place. I mean, because like without him, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing,
right,
and I wouldn't even have the opportunity. So like,
that's fair.
Regardless of my opinions or what happened there, I will always be eternally grateful and think deep down he's actually a pretty good dude. He's just got demons like the rest of us, man. And anyway, the apprenticeship wasn't bad necessarily. It was just like I just went in for apprenticeship. He like started, making me do apprenticeship shit, like the whole 9 yards. And then after a while, he kind of just started having a bunch of people come in and be apprentices, because he kind of figured, instead of like getting people that are set in their ways, just train people up how he wanted. And I thought that was pretty clever, but it kind of got a little bit out of control. And then things just got really hairy, and it wasn't like anything personal against him or like it was just, I got a lot of stories, and I was like, I just need to go do my own thing, bro. This is just, I can't do it.
So no, okay. So you started how long did your apprenticeship work? Like how long did it take?
I actually got it done pretty fast. I mean, just because I don't even know how I did it. I got my hours done, and I was just doing the tracing, and I had a bunch of people come in and just get on skin as fast as I could, and then I went from.
How'd you feel about that though?
What doing on skin?
Just that transition from.
Like practice.
Going.
Dude,
boom,
honestly,
boom,
I didn't, it didn't really faze me as much. I'm not going to sit here and say like I wasn't nervous a couple times or I didn't like do a bad tattoo here and there. We all have. It's part of the learning curve, right? Like anybody that says they've never done a bad tattoo is like, fuck off. Okay. Like you're, yeah. But, no, it was just, I was so used to like, I know I'm gonna bring up airbrushing again, but I was so used to people staring at you, like while you do airbrushing and like the pressure of all these people watching that. Granted, if you fuck up a shirt, you can throw it away, start a new one. Like there's no magic to erase these on skin, right? Like once it's in there, it's in there. But like it wasn't that big of a learning curve as far as getting the nerves. And I feel like as an apprentice, that's like the biggest thing is like trying to teach people how to calm and get their nerves under control. It's
I can relate to that.
Yeah, sure. It's like
I man, my hand shook so bad.
Oh, sure. And I just
and my mentor sitting there telling me, breathe, man.
Just
breathe.
Literally breathe
and relax.
You control the tattoo, or it controls you.
Yeah.
I was that close to a Syncope episode once or twice, but.
Oh my god. Yeah, I just tell my apprentices like or the ones that I've trained, it's just like you just got to relax and just like you've done art your whole fucking life. You wouldn't be here if you didn't do art. Like deep down what you're doing,
right?
And you need to like kind of get that little shmoosh mob out and just do whatever you're doing, man.
I think it's that mental block of if I mess this up, I've messed up something permanent, and then I got
there's no like recourse for it. Yeah.
So that's permanent. Just like you said with the t-shirts, I can throw this away. You sit there on practice pad and just chuck that in the trash and move on. There's no. I mean, now there is because we can just do blackouts.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
just get the
blackouts
blood
for
shovel out
everybody
and
will
just-
ever know.
just go for it, dude.
Is there a
We'll
skin
just
tone?
black
Is
this
there a
out.
H out?
Yeah, it was
That's
skin
really
tone it
funny.
out.
Yeah.
But that's really cool that you were able to work in a medium that didn't have an eraser, and it didn't
Yeah.
have that forgiveness of like, you can pause, go look at some more references, come back to it. Like you had to have the rhythm, the movement, the pressure, the
Oh,
distance
sure.
from the, all of it had to be consistent, or else you're going to end up with globs.
Yeah.
And
And I went through an apprenticeship with airbrushing too, because that's like it's
Okay.
very similar to the tattoo industry in a lot of ways. Like especially how apprenticeships work. Like you're gonna grab that motherfucker coffee and he's gonna teach you all things. You're gonna clean his airbrushes or yada. So like when I went to tattooing, it was actually a super familiar transition, except just the culture's a lot different, obviously, and then things are fucking really permanent. So like your mistakes are pretty intense if you do make them. So yeah, but it was pretty similar.
When you were airbrushing, were you on staff or were you just working for yourself, making what you were selling in tips and stuff like that?
Oh no, I was a contractor. It was
Okay.
just like tattooing. It was like 40% commission, and then I would obviously work a set schedule just because
Right.
like even though you're a contractor, you can do that. It's just always good to work your set schedule just to get money and pay bills, right? But it was literally like that, commission, tips, it was like literally the same. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's kind of trippy.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
but you were having
Similarities.
to interface with clients and just sort of those social skills from a
Yeah.
business aspect. It seems like you would get a lot from that I'm sure you took things from warehousing or whatever that you applied to your business.
Oh, sure, just how like
but-
businesses work in general, which
Right,
is
but
bullshit. But yeah.
what you got from airbrushing, it seems like it's so specific to I don't know anybody else that's come from that background.
Yeah,
So that's cool.
one of my current now licensed guys, Alvy, he's great. We actually airbrushed a little bit back in the day, and he just got his license, and his apprenticeship went pretty good. And he picked up the tattoo machine and just like freaking killed it. Like he's already surpassing other people that are licensed and things like that. And I was like looking at him like, ooh, yeah, airbrushing thing, like airbrush, yeah. And,
You're gonna be like you're gonna be sneaking around in the theme parks. And for anybody that's not local, Silver Dollar City is like if the Civil War was like a theme park, that's what Silver Dollar City is.
Right?
But also
really
there's
is.
like taffy and stuff and shows.
mid 1860s vibes.
It's a
for
very
sure.
specific, if it says anything about it, if you're familiar with the like 19 Kids and Counting Duggars, like that was like their place where they love to be. That says something about
kudos
it.
to
Like,
those guys.
Yeah.
Good
wearing
old-fashioned
their outfit
family
here in the
racism.
summer.
Dude,
Right,
this
you're gonna
sucks.
be like sneaking around in the theme park with like your trench coat, being like, "Hey, you want to start tattooing?"
Yeah.
Like your coil machines up in there,
Do you go to
stealing the
other-
airbrushers.
I wonder if they let a tattoo shop in there because it
No
technically
way.
is a
They would-
craft. I know
they
they
would
wouldn't. Like the
never.
Hershey's
They
would
would
never
never.
allow that. But
That
like,
would be amazing.
It
It's
would be
not as
amazing.
hardcore as blacksmithing. They let them in.
Yeah.
dude, those
No,
guys are
they'll
gangsters, man.
stick with their fake tattoos. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
they got
We
a
did that
nice
too.
little
The
booth.
airbrush tattoos.
They got a nice little airbrush
with a little
tattoo booth
stencil.
there.
Yep. That did actually help me learn how to lay stencils and
That's
tattooing better.
amazing.
Because because like when you actually like lay a stencil with airbrushing, you're like, oh, this is gonna be real easy. You just slap it on there and you spray it and like peel it off. And you're like, oh god, that looks like trash. And then you're like, oh my god, please don't look at that. Yeah, wipe it off. real
Everything's
quick.
outside the lines.
Yeah. But you realize like the skin flexes and morphs with
Mm.
pressure, obviously, just like a stencil does. So then I was like, oh, weird. So
But you're dealing with a piece of plastic there
Yep.
too.
So,
As
yeah,
opposed to
it-
paper.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so
No, I get
that's
that, yeah.
kind of easier in a way because it's like rigid. Like,
Mhm.
you know how stencils are. It's like if it even slides or moves, all like the ink is like weep, and
Yeah.
you're just like motherfucker, and you gotta get a Sharpie out and touch stuff
Draw
up, or
around, yeah.
getting the right ratio of like the stencil stuff, or
Mhm.
if you're still into using speed sticks or whatever background you come from, it's just like
no.
that's what I learned
No,
on
no,
speed
no,
sticks.
no,
dude.
I-
You know what?
Speed
No,
stick, dude.
I totally get that because back in the day, that's what it was. When I first got my very first tattoo, it was like, oh, here's some speed stick.
Yep. A green
You know,
soap
and then
speed
later
stick
on-
or whatever it was, and then it's just talking about chasing a fucking stencil, dude.
Mhm.
As soon as you like wipe, you're like, oh my god, it's all gone.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now I gotta draw the whole thing on.
Yep. Yeah, that's like a
Now
whole
I
other
gotta be
level
an
of stress,
artist.
dude. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, illustrative skills are very important in that
Oh, yeah.
situation.
When you started, was it rotary machines yet, or were you coil when you started?
So I'm gonna come out and say, like, no shame. I never used a coil.
Fine.
Just because the technology is just different nowadays. I got respect for it. I think it has its place. I love the type of etching and like style you can do with it. Personally, the pieces I've seen, you know, they do. I've been tattooed a lot by coil, but they hit really hard, and as opposed to a rotary, the smooth action of it. And there's also rotaries that are kind of like imitate coils. Like I've got an Inkjecta. Yeah, that's kind of like a coil, and the torsion bars are really cool because you can like, you know, switch them out for different like tensile strength. So like the pressure it hits the cartridge into the skin can be changed depending on what you want to do, like hard black lining or like soft black and gray. So that's all cool. But no, I never learned on a big honking coil. Never even learned how to set one up. I would like to learn one day, but at the same rate, it's just, you know, industries, man.
See me, I got them coil machines at home.
I was looking forward.
I love that, actually.
And I mentioned it before, but I was looking forward to the opportunity of having that moment where it's just like that Jedi moment where it's like when you can assemble your machine, you can be a Jedi.
Yeah.
I had this. I snuck a coil machine out of a drawer of my mentor's drawer, and I disassembled it and I put it back together. Made sure it turned on, but I didn't have anything else to set up and test it. I'm like, I hope it doesn't hurt anybody. I hope it doesn't hurt. So I had to make my own thunder with that. But yeah,
it was all out of tune.
Well, it's never going to be used again. So
it was never used before. I had to clean it while I was. Well, I think I did him a favor.
I think it's this. The contraption is so cool. Been around since the early 1900s or something like that. Just reciprocating magnets.
Well, I guess it was an Edison.
Yes, an Edison. Yeah,
there's an automatic handwriter, but it's like you still had to move it with your hand, so I don't know what.
Oh, you guys want to know a crazy fact about Springfield? So I had a friend that was tattooing. She was drawing she's a trad artist, no names, you know, but she was drawing like a tiger face, right? And she's like super into trad, and she was like kind of like beating up on the apprentices for like not knowing trad and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, all right, give it to him a little bit or whatever, you know. And she was drawing a Burt Grimm tiger face, you know, like a old school Burt Grimm design. And I was like, oh yeah, you drawing Burt Grimm like inspired tiger face. She kind of looked at me like she didn't know what she was talking about. I was like, what the fuck, man? How do you not? No, you know, you're like all about it. You're talking about it, but you're not being about it, right? You don't know who Burt Grimm is, and Burt Grimm. He's like the godfather of American traditional tattooing. Like he tattooed Lyle Tuttle and Sailor Jerry and all those guys, you know, list goes on. If you look at all their chest and back pieces, it's all like Burt Grimm. And Burt Grimm opened up one of the first electric tattooing shops in the Midwest and in the United States off Market Street in St. Louis. And he was born in Springfield, motherfucking Missouri, dude.
Hey,
we're like OG.
He had a studio there up in KC that just recently burnt.
Oh man!
And they
put his story.
I know.
That's all right.
I mean, it was horrible. I remember seeing it on Facebook, and it was just devastating because it was like, wow, such history was taken, and you know they and it was amazing how the tattoo community came together and flooded them with, you know, funds to
support
be able to,
and stuff like that
to help rebuild that place. I mean, it was a sad day. I mean, I remember reading that, and it was. I mean, that's just horrible when you see history like that taken from you.
It's just crazy. I mean, it's just like Missouri, like is kind of like a little catalyst for everything we know as far as old school tattooing and stuff. A lot of people don't know that, and I'm like, so I feel like a responsibility. To like maybe learn how to use a coil machine or something,
sure,
you know?
Right? A lot of it is guilt. A lot of it is
a lot of it's guilt.
When you come face to face with another artist, you can have that conversation confidently.
Yeah.
You know? And that's, you know, were you like invested in tattooing before you decided that you wanted to do tattoos?
Oh, sure. When I was a kid, I would draw like a lot of Japanese traditional inspired stuff, or like not really American traditional, but I was super into lettering, realism, things like that. I was drawing all the time. I had like cardstock and like brush pens and like micron pens and like ink and stuff like India ink, and I was trying to learn all that stuff. And then you know, just the outside forces like my dad or, you know, family, because tattoos like are like literally the last maybe 5-10 years, it's actually started to become more mainstream, or like it's almost more uncommon to find somebody without a tattoo than with a tattoo.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, it was that vibe was still very much prominent of like, that's bad culture. You don't want to get involved with that. So I was steered away from it. But yeah, dude, I was drawing tattoo designs since I was probably like 12. And then I dropped it because I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to do that with my life. And then when I got diagnosed, I was like, I want to do that with my life. Fuck it, dude. Why not? Fuck the world, man.
How did you go about finding an apprenticeship? Did you just go door to door?
I just did the Stephan thing, and I was just like, I got something in my head, and I'm just gonna figure out a way to do it. And I just like started messaging shops and just getting a portfolio together of all of my shitty art, and like, because I never really kept a lot of my art either. I just didn't really have like. I'm sure like you guys probably relate. You do something, you give it to somebody, you know, you don't really care too much about it, you know.
And that's funny because mine was all shitty art too. It was like, here we go, man. I want to do this.
Yeah, but the truth is, it's like if I look back, it's like none of our art's probably shitty. It's just how we view it. Because like we're all perfectionists. Like if you're an artist of any kind, you know, your art is an extension of yourself, and it's also like a kind of extension of your own like view of your own self-worth and like your own relationship you have with yourself. You're like, oh, look at this art I spent 16 hours making. It's fucking shitty. You're just taking it for free. It's not worth anything, you know. So
50 people did.
Right.
Yeah. So like I just started putting together whatever portfolio I can from all the shitty art that was like left that I never got rid of. And a lot of places said no, you know, and then Springfield Ink actually said yes. I just told him my situation, you know, and he was really cool. And I just came in and started doing the bitch work and showing up and just doing shit for free and just putting in the work. And then eventually, you know, got the thing done, you know, so.
And you said this was your diagnosis a big big reason for you to,
sure. Yeah.
If I have, you know, okay. So you got the diagnosis, you started your apprenticeship.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about your diagnosis. How did that come about?
Oh, so I was working warehousing at that time, like I was telling you guys, and I was just working one day and I just had this pain in my side that was so fucking terrible, man. It was like the worst thing ever. And pardon me. I just, my manager was like, go to the hospital, bro. And I was like, nah, I'll be all right. So I tried napping it off in my car. And then, anyway, I eventually drove an hour home and tried napping it off anymore. The most dude thing ever, like not going to the hospital. Anyway, my dumb ass had to call an ambulance and they drove me up to Springfield. They scanned me and they're like, oh, you've got appendicitis, but we can't work on it now because it fucking ruptured inside you. And I was like, oh, that's groovy. So I was like sent home with a drain and they drained it. And I was in the hospital, antibiotics for a while before I went home. And then they came back and we did a laparoscopic surgery. And then they found that it was stage 4 adenocarcinoma of the peritoneum. But nobody told me that until like 6 months later. I healed from my laparoscopic surgery. And then I went right back to lifting weights and I developed an umbilical hernia from like just deadlifting and going back too fast. And I went back to my surgeon and I talked to him about it. For whatever reason, he went through my files and he's like, oh shit. They called me the next morning. He's like, I don't know why somebody dropped the ball and I'm super pissed, but your pathology came back cancerous, dude. And your appendix wasn't actually appendicitis. The big tumor had like eaten through it and that's why it ruptured. And,
jeez.
Yeah. And then like from that point on, I exhausted all my medical leave from my job. So I got let go. I basically like lost a bunch of stuff. I was just financially like totally fucked and I just went into survival mode. And luckily, a GoFundMe was started and like friends and family pitched in to help pay for bills for a while and shit. And that was like, dude, I'm super into like just voluntarism or however you say that. Just like
that's so hard, you know, it goes against all your pride and everything else.
It really does, dude.
You don't want to take that handout. I totally get it. I went through my ordeal the same way. I was like, I refuse to go and have people put that together. I'll find a way to make it, you know, and
so I feel that it's like a kick in the nuts in a weird way, but at the same rate, it was just like, damn, man, it got me through. And it made me believe in the power of people again. You know what I mean? Like, you know, in today's day and climate, we're always at each other's throats and shit because of like social media and politics and all that dumb shit that it really doesn't matter. But like at the end of the day, it's like, man, a lot of people I didn't even know had my back. Dude, I wouldn't be here without that GoFundMe. I wouldn't be tattooing. I wouldn't even have the people that I've changed their lives for giving them the same opportunity that was given for me so they can get out of their 9-to-5 jobs and do art and stuff. You know, it's that ripple effect that we were talking about, you know? So, that was the diagnosis. And then I immediately just went into big surgeries and chemo for 6 months. And just, that was like the first half year of the 6-year balance. It was fucking bullshit.
You were how old?
26.
26.
Yep, I was literally 2 days after turning 26. I got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Your treatments were intense. You would fill us in every now and then, but you were always the same exact like positive uplifting. It wasn't just like, hey, what was me. Like, you always had something uplifting to share with people.
Yeah. I try, dude.
Man, he looks and sounds amazing for somebody, you know. But, yeah, what kind of process did you go through? Because you kind of exhausted like all the typical treatments, and you're still going.
So like as soon as I was diagnosed, they threw me right up to St. Louis University or Barnes Jewish anyway, and they did a HIPEC, which is heated interperitoneal chemotherapy, and it's where they cut you from breastbone to pubic bone. They open you up with big like metal retainers, and they basically do a cytoreduction as best they can, that they can get all the visible cancer out. And at that time I had a hemicolectomy or whatever. They take out your large colon for the most part, and they do a resection, and then they stitch you back up, pump chemo in you for another like 2 hours. It's really hot. And then they suck it all back out and then stitch you up. And I went through that. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. No. That was the next HIPEC. Sorry. The first HIPEC, I was only in there for 5 days. I kicked its ass, came out. I did 6 months of regular like 5FU chemotherapy, which is standard for colon cancer treatments. It kicked my ass. I did not treat it or take it as well as a lot of people do, but that's kind of like the caveat of being me. Like, I can take the real harsh shit and just fine, but like the normal shit I can't. I don't know, like I'm reversed all the time. The medical shit's always been reversed. So I went through a few scans, like, oh yeah, you're clear. And Cox was telling me I was clear, and I was like, I don't know. And I was all high on life. I beat cancer, stage 4 cancer. Never happens with that type of cancer because it's super rare. And then my surgical oncologist up in St. Louis gave me a call. He's like, hey man, we haven't been getting those scans like we've been requesting. They just keep giving us the written reports. And I was like, son of a bitch, Cox. Like, I told them to send the like actual discs, right? And then he went and reviewed the actual discs, and he's like, nah, man, like you still have a reoccurrence on your liver and like your colon and stuff like that. So then we went for another HIPEC. A year later, this one I did not recover very well from. They basically opened me up and found that cancer was fucking riddled everywhere. And he's like, in order to get it out, we're going to have to remove literally everything. My wife at the time decided that wasn't the best course of action because she knew like just my punk ass wouldn't want to be into something like that. So then they put ports, like your chest port that you get chemo. They put 2 of them right above my ribs, and the catheters just went into my abdominal cavity. And just to like soak my organs in chemo and all like the tumors around them. And that was like the most excruciating shit I've been through. It was just the most terrible pain and just convulsing and just hours of it. And I would still go home like another 48 hours with a pump, still in all that pain. They had to like inject me with Dilaudid and morphine. And I had my own hospital room with like a set of nurses and like probably 5 or 6 IVs just to get that done. And I had to do that for 2 weeks for 2 years or a year and a half. And I lost all sorts of weight every 2 weeks. Went up to St. Louis and back in the same day if I could, because I was so tired of not being with my dogs or my house, you know. And it's a 3.5 hour drive. It was long days, dude. I was the first one there, last one out, usually for chemo. First one there, 8 a.m. Didn't leave till 5:30. Some of the nurses were going home. The parking lot was empty. And like, dude, it was fucked up. And I had a shitty car at the time, and like we'd have to like pull over on the 44 and fucking like fix my cooling, whatever, dude. Yeah, I could go on forever, man. I'm sorry. I'll literally talk about it forever, man. Good. That was like it was fucking bullshit.
And this was all happening while you were learning tattooing.
Yeah. 100%, dude.
You pop in, put your nose to the grindstone, then go out and get.
Yep. Dude, it was crazy.
That's
dedication.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, you want a job?
Well, that segues. So, how long were you at that location before you started your own spot?
Oh, dude, I was 2 years.
2 years?
I think about 2 years. So I went through 2018. Yeah. So I filed for my LLC in late 2020. Because I knew that it was like the time is nigh kind of thing, right? With all the shit that was going down. And then 2021, we officially opened up at the mall.
And this was around the time that I had just started my apprenticeship when you.
Oh, yeah.
And you were one of the first people I came to for advice because, you know, I didn't really feel like I didn't know the questions to ask, and I wasn't really that well supported at the time, so I came to bug you.
Yeah, dude, anytime. Yeah, I remember that actually.
But you started at the mall, and that's what's insane is that, you know, Infinium is here in Springfield. It was, you opened it in a mall, which by itself is crazy to me.
Oh, for Springfield, it's crazy. Yeah.
And I haven't really done that much research, but is there other tattoo?
I know
studios
I know
in
a lot of shops in malls. Yeah,
it's not.
Vegas, it's normal.
Well, sure,
yeah. In the bigger cities, it's a very practiced thing just because it's like walk-in traffic is great. You set yourself aside from being in a strip mall, which is nothing wrong with being a strip mall, but in Springfield we got like a lot of dingy strip malls. Like this place where you guys got is like fucking nice. Like I walked in, I was like, fuck yeah, this is actually like nice. Yeah, this is a nice studio. And I was like, well, it's the market's becoming saturated because everybody gets licensed, starts their own shit. I get it, you know, whatever. Nothing wrong with that. But the fact of the matter is it's getting saturated. And I was like, how the hell can I separate myself? And I remember I had that idea a long time ago when I was going to start it with somebody else. And we had a falling out, not in a bad way, just it didn't work out. And it's just like one day I was like in my office and I was like, oh, fuck, the mall, man. And like I had to pull strings and convince them and do all these corporate meetings because like we're the only tattoo shop in all Simon properties in the Midwest. Yeah, and they took like a big gamble on us because they were like, oh, same thing, tattoo culture. They're like, oh, we don't want that in our establishments. And then I was like, dude, I promise it's going to be different. It's going to be professional, respectful. It's going to be, you know, obviously PG-13 rated R sometimes because it's a tattoo shop, but you got Spencer's selling dildos down the hallway. You're going to be just fine, right? Like, so, you know, it was cool. And they love us, man. We drive a lot of traffic there and vice versa. And but, you know, a mall's also got its caveats and bullshit too, you know.
Are you restricted by the mall's hours as far as when you can operate?
We are to a degree. I try not to push that too much, but, I mean, we can stay as late as we want because we got a backdoor access. Okay. But it's really about like abiding by the mall's schedule of opening and closing. And that's kind of difficult because contractors can make their own schedules, you know, and they want us to be open up 7 days a week and 12 hours a day. And it's just, we just don't do it. Yeah. I just tell them like, there's no way. Like I can't, it's just not the way tattoo shops work, man.
When you were forming your team, you had, let's see, Nathan on board. How did you find airbrushers at Silver City and be like, hey,
didn't even ask, just threw him in the back of a van, drove him to Springfield.
Hopefully it's okay with me name dropping, but yeah.
Oh, Nathan? Oh no, Nathan came from Springfield Ink with me. You're talking about Alvy. Alvy's the guy I was airbrushing with, yeah.
Oh well, no, that was just a joke. I just assumed that. But how did you find your team and your crew? And like, how much like you guys worked together to start this? You know, was that conversation like, hey, let's do it in the mall?
No, I just well, yeah. So it was actually the people I was working with at the time because we were all just going through the shit at the shop we were working with because it was just a bad thing for us, man. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate, dude.
This all makes sense.
And I had this thought. I was like, bro, I'm just trying to do art and do really good with my career, and I'm fucking sick of this just vibe, man. I'm just, why are tattoo shops like this? Not all of them are like this, right? I'm not going to paint the whole culture that way because it's not. But locally, a few of them are that way, and it just happened to be the way we fell into. So we were like, dude, let's just start them all. I was like, look, man, give me until X amount of time to come up with the money and just figure it out. I was just working my ass off as much as I can between chemo treatments, just saving every fucking penny I could. And then anyway, I had a falling out with that one person. Nathan was the last one there, and we all left Springfield Ink, and we were just sitting in the parking lot. I was like, look, man, you can come with me. I'd love to have you, but I know, you know, we're at a crossroads as far as like you got opportunities other places. And he's like, but like, I love Nathan. He's like he's a really good friend of mine. We went through a lot of shit, and he just took a chance on me. He's like, he just got back to me. He's like, you know, I turned down that job offer, and he's like, let's fucking do this. And then we had a lady named Eli that working with us, and I love her so much. I mean, we kind of had a falling out too, just weird stuff, but I still love her. She's a great fucking artist. I got huge respect for her, and you know, I wish we were still really, really good friends because we were really tight, and all three of us did it. It would like by ourselves, and without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And kudos to them. And
she did my first tattoo.
Oh, really? Yeah. Eli, dude, I fucking man, she's like awesome, dude.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's really a great talented, chick. And I think she's doing really well in the shop she's at. And
I think she is too.
Vibing around with the people she's with.
Yeah, I see her doing shows and like conventions and just following her neo-traditional like animal art or
she's an incredible artist. She's one of those that came from an art background. The community college apparently used to have an art program that it doesn't anymore. So she was doing that, and she was like painting bird murals.
Oh yeah,
before she got into this, it's just
her old Instagram tag was Eli draws birds.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah. I think she goes by Tia now.
Yep, because I think that's Eli, her real name. Yeah,
I think Eli's like her middle name. Or something.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. She's a heavy hitter, dude, for sure. I love her. She may not know that, but I still love the shit out of that woman. She's awesome. She's such a cool chick.
It's something I love about where the industry is going is the amount of people that are coming from more traditional art backgrounds with that experience and finding a place in the tattoo industry and bringing in these new styles and new techniques and really pushing the boundaries of what kind of art can you put on a human canvas.
I completely agree, and I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. It's a little saturated, but it's really starting to separate the people that are like actually good at art and some people that are just fell into art, you know what I mean?
Sure,
and I think it's gonna be a weird crossroads coming up soon. The more people figure that out, you know, so. Like, cause Nathan, he comes from a background like MSU and like he can draw portraits like no other from like scratch and things like that. Just incredible technical skill, and that he applies to tattooing that honestly I haven't seen anybody really execute like he does. So there's gonna be influx of people that have like actual artistic educations that have been properly trained, and that's like scary in a cool way. That means like tattooing is gonna get like real crazy. Yeah, you know. So
there's only so many ways you can make a living out of art.
I know.
Especially if you don't want to be in an
you have tried them all. Dude.
Especially if you don't want to be in an office 60 hours a week. Like there's only so many avenues for art as a living. Yeah.
No, I've always admired your progress, and I related to you in a lot of ways where you're just like, that's interesting. I want to know how it's done.
Yeah.
Always peeking behind the curtain, always learning the tricks, always learning the magic. And but you've always been really influential and inspiring to, you know, you just personally and publicly with every new thing you're doing. And it was, you know, here I was like, I guess I'm a tattoo artist now. I don't know what to do. Like, I mean, and you were so open. You invited me in. You were getting worked on and giving me advice. Like, I think you had an apprentice working on you.
Probably. It's probably Jason or something like that. I don't remember that. I got chemo brain. I don't remember.
Yeah, well,
I don't remember shit,
amongst
dude.
all of that, you had a whole other life of nightmares that you weren't.
Oh, dude.
That you were transparent and honest about, but you were uplifting with somehow. And it's like, I remember how many conversations I've had with so many other people who are just like, yeah, it kind of makes me mad how just good he looks and how positive he is going through this hell when I can't even get out of the bed, like, any better than this. And it's like, I don't know.
Well, it's like when, I know this sounds like morbid, but it's like when death is staring you in the face, like in the mirror every morning. It's like, we all know we're going to die, but it's like, it takes something like that for you to really embrace it. And then you're like, oh, fuck. Well, now I got to get to work. You know, it's just, it's like, I've been reading philosophy lately, and like, I was reading Seneca and how he was, or Seneca, I don't really know how to pronounce his name, an old Roman philosopher, but he was just saying, like, you know, so many of us have that lack of focus, even though we know we're going to die, we don't do anything with it. And if you go to a young man and he's like, if you're like, how many years you got left? And he's like, well, I got 60 years left. But if you look at the way he lives his life, on how many times he actually applies his life towards the existence he wants, it's very rare and short and in between, because we fuck off so much, which there's no problem with relaxing and taking days. You need that. But then he would be wide-eyed to tell you that, like, you've only got like 5 or 6 years of actual living the life you want. You know, because we waste so much of it, like whether it's scrolling or, you know, not, you know what I mean? I'm guilty of that shit too. I'm not gonna sit there and say, oh, I never do that. I read philosophy. But what I'm saying is, like, I definitely do that. And it's true, man. It's like, fuck, man. How, dude, we just waste times. We're just wasters, man.
Yeah.
We don't do shit.
Yeah, I think that's my anxiety and my guilt is my driving force.
Those are great things to have sometimes, as long as something productive comes out of them, I guess. Oh my God. Because I felt that one, dude.
6 years recovering from cancer that, I mean, you were pretty well convinced, or you're pretty well told that it's impossible to survive, or
still they're like, it's gonna come back, and like I'm 90% sure myself it's gonna kill me one day. I just don't have it right now because I went through another high pec and then a transplant, and then like my 3rd high pec and my 5th major surgery, and just I've been on 9 different clinical trials, every chemo you could possibly try, from colon cancer to lung cancer to pancreatic cancer to just different types of, like, the peritoneum ports I was telling you guys about earlier. That's like not even a thing really. Very rarely people or women with ovarian cancer will get those, and just things like that. Just like, I don't know.
But amongst all this recovery and all this.
Yeah, sorry, I went down another rabbit hole. I was like, oh God, PTSD. Like, yeah.
It's just, but you know, this is important because it's like, at the same time, you have built a team of people that hold you in such high respects, and you've built something, and through yourself and built something in an industry that, you know, has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's been inspiring. Like, we've talked about it too, where it's just like, you know, when we shot about around ideas about what we wanted Cryptic to be like, you know, we wanted it to be like a step above. We wanted it to be a little bit more, you know, classy.
Yeah.
We wanted to be more inviting to the other side of the fence, you know, and be more inviting and comfortable.
Yeah.
And dude, like, Infinium was in the back of my head all the time. Like,
dude, that means so much, man.
The response that you were getting paired with a lot of the people when people first started walking in here, who had no idea that there was anything, they didn't feel like there was anything wrong with the place we were at.
Yeah.
But the moment they set foot in Cryptic, they were just like, oh.
Yeah, there's a whole nother world. There's a whole nother level out there.
And it's like a lot of people don't really realize that. And it's a huge compliment. Like, just walking in and being like, oh, this place is clean.
Yeah.
Like,
or
okay,
yeah,
I'll take it.
yeah, dude. Like, people come in and they're like, "Oh, this is the nicest shop I've ever seen." I'm like, "Really, ever?" Like, because I'm such a perfectionist, I like look at a leak somewhere and I'm like, "Fuck, man," or like, you know. But it's so great because like coming from that other background, not that there's anything wrong with that shop. I was just like, man, I just want to like redefine locally what we are as in our careers. Like, we're still tattoo artists. We're still, you know, we're a part of the counterculture, sure, but you know, the industry is growing 3% every year. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. More and more people are open-minded to it. It's like, it's time for us to kind of, I wouldn't say change, but evolve a little bit with it, especially locally. Springfield, we're a little bit behind the curve on some things, and that's not always a bad thing, but with tattooing,
we're taking an old trade and giving it a facelift.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, that is fair. Yeah, I like that a lot because it's just, it needed it, man. Especially being in the Bible Belt around here and shit, dude. Ugh. You know, it's just,
yeah. We found that out really quick.
Really?
Yeah, really quick. Yeah, because, I mean, Cryptic wasn't the original name. I mean, that we had picked out. I mean, we wanted to call it Sinners Ink.
Oh, right.
And I mean, because that's the whole thought process behind that is because that's how it was always looked at. You marked your body, you were a sinner.
Sure.
You just don't do that. You know, and then it was like right up until the point we were getting ready to sign this contract, it comes back, oh, well, we kind of got a problem with the name.
Yeah.
So, you know, within 20, you know, it was probably a good 36 hours. We're like, what do we do now? We got to come up with a name, logos, all of this stuff in 36 hours.
Yeah, all the branding.
And revamp the whole thing. But then it, you know, kind of made sense. We don't want anything, you know, political. We don't want anything religious.
You want to be in the middle of the road as best you can.
We've got a church literally, you know, just spread across the street.
That's the thing. That's true. We had a conversation like, by the way, you do know where we live. This could get some pushback.
Yeah.
And I was thinking
he warned me, and I'm like, no, we putting the foot on the floor. Here we go.
We got some backups.
That's funny.
We did.
But in your guys' defense, churches are like literally every football throwaway around here. There's too many of them. There's more churches than there are freaking McDonald's around here. It's ridiculous.
And a lot of our branding and stuff, like, you know, like Kelsey comes from walks of life and interacts with a lot of people that are very faith-based people, and you know, and school teachers and everything. She walks, you know, she brings in a very interesting line of clients that are, you know, they're missionaries, and they're, you know, and they're starting to kind of dip their toe in it too, and kind of dabble in it. And it's awesome to know that, you know,
you have a place that's like conducive to that kind of work for them. Yeah,
we joked because my apprenticeship, I think there was like 3 people I tattooed that weren't from my church.
Really?
Yeah. And I think one of those was my cousin. It was like, you know, it was like, gosh, are we gonna start like a study group up in the tattoo shop here? Like, what is but it was great because they were coming through the shop, and one of them worked at the prison for a while and recognized another tattoo artist at our shop from that environment, and they were on opposite sides of it. But they're both like, oh, I remember you. You're so cool. Like, you're an awesome person. So it was a really great experience for everybody involved to be like, oh, these are just people. And maybe we wouldn't have crossed paths previously, but like everybody's chill and cool and awesome.
I think that's great, man.
It's been really great.
You had a lady that was laying down. She goes, well, I'm going to hell.
Here we go. She was convinced. Hey, if we're going to hell, we're going to do it right.
So I'm going to retire from you know, because she's a missionary. I'm going to retire first, and then I might consider, because she was getting she was there with her daughter while her daughter was getting tattooed. But then she came back.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm next. But what is it that you said to calm her?
I said, I was like, I'm not going to tattoo you bigger than God's love, honey. You're fine.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, we're good.
And I was like, that's adorable.
That's good customer service.
She went back into her like volunteer group of all the other retired pastors' wives, and they're all admiring her pretty little fine line, floral tattoo she got. No, I want one too. So I'm just, corrupting all the pastors' wives.
That's fun. It makes me wonder how many of them pastors really know that their wives are tattooed now.
Right, yeah.
Oh, no.
They didn't go home and hey, hon, look what I got.
Well, this sort of environment.
Blasphemy.
No, she was like FaceTiming the husband right before we started. He's like, okay, you really want this, right? Like, this is your last chance. If you don't want it, that's fine. And she's like, no, I'm doing it. And he's like, all right, honey, call me when you're done. And they were giving him pictures through the whole thing. I did the first little dot on her, and it's like, that's it, you're tattooed. And they sent him a picture. And I know the guy is the sweetest grandpa and loves making paper airplanes with his grandkids. And so they were just having fun with the whole thing. And if it would have been 10 years ago, I would have been completely different.
Yeah.
But we're just at this point now where it's just so many people are able to embrace it. And I think I've talked before, one of my favorite clientels, bring me the Mimas. I love tattooing. Yeah. All these grandmas that like never would have gotten a tattoo, but now like their kids have them, their grandkids have them, and they're like, maybe this is a way I can express myself. I didn't know I could. My mom was
the same way. She just absolutely was like, no. I mean, I remember the day I called her and told her, because I got my first piece down in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I remember calling her going, hey, I got a tattoo. You did what? And I'm like, I got a tattoo. I'm like, you can't say nothing about it now because I'm 18. And then when I moved back up, it was like, she was like, let me see your tattoo. And I'm like, which one? She was like, you have more than one. And I'm like, I've got 3 now, and it just, and now, my mom's 72 years old and she's got multiple tattoos on her, it was, I remember that day sitting down and tattooing her for the first time. And it was just like, wow. Here we are. Isn't that calling the kettle black, Mom?
Yeah.
Look what
hell froze over. Yeah.
The only one that I couldn't get tattooed was my dad. And my dad lived a long, long life and went through the military and, retired in the military 30 years and not one tattoo on his body.
Wow.
And I asked him one day, I was like, Dad, how did you manage to go through the military and not get at least one, one simple little tattoo? He was like, I just never wanted one.
Yeah.
I had him on the fence once and he, my mistake was I gave him a week to think about it.
Yeah.
I should have been just like, Dad, sit down. We're going to do this right now, but it didn't happen. Out of respect for my dad, I was like, okay, you think about that and we'll come back, revisit it. Week later, I'm like, how about that tattoo, Dad? Nah, not gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so I respect that. I really wish deep down.
Yeah, they know what they want.
I wish deep down I could have done that. And, that would have meant a lot to me to have done,
Yeah, it is a sentimental thing.
My dad looked at my career, because I was that punk kid, just like you just troublemaker, always was out partying, doing other things other than what I should have been doing.
Sure.
And, he looked at my career. He was like, told my mom, he's like, I'll give him not even 2-3 years. He's going to quit this and it's not going to be a thing. And it wasn't probably maybe a couple of years before he died. So I want to say maybe 2017 that he looked at my mom and was like, you know what? I can't believe he's stuck with this.
Yeah.
And
it had to feel good.
Validation. Man, dude, that warmed my heart so much to know that my dad accepted what I did, and was like, wow, he's actually made a career of this. He's taking care of his family. He's doing the things he needs to do as a person. And, I wish
excelling.
I wish he was alive to see this milestone of 25 years, to go, look, Pop, I did it.
He's around. He just,
I did it. I mean, and to see the shop and to know, wow, I'm a shop owner, Dad, check this out. He's definitely smiling down.
My parents were always really cool. They always supported everything I did. And my mom was an artist and Dad was a crafter, but
her mom was an artist? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, she just a joke. She painted. She was painting.
Oh, wow.
When I was born, she abandoned it because kids.
Sure.
And especially this one. But no, they were used to me like, hey, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this now, and they're like, right on, man. cool.
Yeah, do your thing.
But mom had died before I became a tattoo artist, and I remember when I was 14 at a Halloween party, they had some scratchers sitting there in the living room doing like, and they're not they're
wizards.
boring, like they're blue collar, hardworking people. They weren't really exotic or anything, but they liked Halloween, and they happened to have a scratcher there, and he happened to have his stuff, so. They did.
Was he tattooing with no gloves?
I don't know. I was mad because I came downstairs and here me in my pirate costume, like all mad, like you don't even know this guy. This is so gross. Like, what are you? So I was lecturing my parents, and so they got a matching tattoos on the back of their neck. And then whenever I was set up at as a tattoo artist, my dad came out to the shop because he wanted help buying a computer online, but he looked at it and he told me. He goes, if your mom was, around, she'd be really happy that you made art in a career somehow. She would be really excited that you're a tattoo artist. I'm like, oh, shucks, Dad. I was like,
she would be, though, yeah.
Would you let me touch up that garbage on the back of your neck? He's like, no, I can't see it. I'm fine.
Out of sight, out of mind, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the only one he's gotten. I mean, open invitation, Dad.
Yeah.
There you go.
But, I mean, and that's... You get a lot of people in the chair that are just like, my parents are going to kill me, and it's like, oh, I guess I'm part of that story. But I haven't been called, or I haven't had anybody's dad come and threaten me.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't think you ever will. Yeah. I mean, I've gotten those stories. I gotta have that story happen to me with a 40-year-old. Man, my mom's gonna kill me. I'm like, dude, really? I said that. I was like, really? Like, you're 40 years old.
I know.
Your mom's gonna kill you.
If this is the worst thing you've ever done, your mom's gonna breathe a sigh of relief.
You'd be out there selling drugs to kids,
Yeah.
But what I will do is I will make a poster of our celebrity Mima and the message that she directly messaged the shop with, saying
that that's
she was
great.
so proud and so happy. She goes, I am old as dirt and would never get a tattoo. But watching the podcast, she says, you are so smart and so well spoken.
I know,
and
right?
And I'm just like,
that's some wholesome shit right there.
Yeah. And I'm just like, this is how we're making moves. Like, this is,
we're moving
like when older people
Straight
start coming to a tattoo studio to change their like perception on something like that, it's really impactful. I mean, my mom was the same way, like same kind of story. I was tattooing myself as a kid. I tattooed Kyle. Yeah, I tattooed Kyle with I took an electric pencil sharpener and disassembled it. Took a G string from a guitar, cut it at an angle, and used like the whole night India ink and dude. And it was like some it was like some scratcher shit, bro. I was like 13, and it's like a little radioactive symbol by his hip, so his dad wouldn't see it, and like some funny stories there. But anyway, my mom was always like, oh, don't be a tattoo artist. That shit looks like trash. Or she was just talking shit. Sweet lady, but always talk trash on it. And then finally when I got my shop and, I did what I was doing, what I wanted with my life, she's like, I want a tattoo. And her first tattoo was Sadie from, dog she lost. And then my sister that we lost. And then after that, she just would not stop getting fucking tattooed. She was like 60. She was 67, about to hit her 70s, dude. And she had like a full half sleeve that I did before she passed away, dude. It was incredible, man. I was like, every time I'd look at her and be like, hell froze over, dude. She goes, I know, you're addicting. You're right.
And I'm like, yes, Mom comes out to visit. It's a new tattoo every time. When she would go back, my dad would be like, so did you get one of those things?
One of those things.
What are you talking about things? Those things that David does. He would never call it. Yeah, he would.
Right.
He'd never call it a tattoo. It was always that thing. He never called it a tattoo. It was always one of those things.
That's a trip.
What did you put on your mom, David?
Yeah.
My mom's got a sunset on her, I believe it's on her right shoulder with some feathers. And then she has got, I got to remember I think it's a heart. And she's got it on her ankle with her initials and my dad's initials. And she did get that talk. Are you sure you want to put dad's initials on it? She was like, you know what? I will be with your father till the day he dies. And that's exactly how it happened, Because I told her, I was like, man, that's the end all. You don't put dad's initials on you. She's like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I was like, okay, all right. So we tattooed that,
That's a trip. That's cool. She was like, went the whole way, because most of the time, like when clients do that, I like advise them not to do that, obviously, because you're just kind of like, eh. But I always just tell people, like, worst case scenario, it's just an acronym you can make up for something later. You know what I mean? Like somebody's initials instead of like,
it's a club you're in.
Yeah, it's a club you're in, dude. Yeah. Like somebody like somebody was like JRH. What was like somebody's like initials they wanted me to tattoo. I was like, all right, if this doesn't work out, you could just say you're just raising hell or like whatever the hell. Or just
an example. Try to come up with something
like,
for them.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do now. You know,
man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come hang out and chat with us.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Inspiring, even before we stepped into this industry, and then when you were a step ahead of me, and I was watching you the whole time, and then also just how you're dealing with
dealing with life in general.
Life in general.
That's inspiring to me.
And learning, the life even before, like it's always fascinating to learn more and more about you. And so much love to you. And thank you, man. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks
for having me, guys. It was good, like talking to all you guys, meeting you guys finally, and good to drop by. It's a killer shop. I really like it.
I have to tell you this because it's all like everything's all water under the bridge now.
Sure.
Before this actually took place and we decided to open this, I was at a turning point where I was at, and literally I had stopped by your studio, probably a good 2 or 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, because I was looking for a spot. I'm like, you know what? I like this spot, but I had to have hours that were going to work with, my family hours.
Sure.
And things like that. So, it was one of those things that it just never came to light. But yeah, your shop was on my radar big time.
That's crazy. I appreciate that. I mean, nonetheless,
I wanted something classy like that. I wanted something upscale. I didn't want to be in a typical look shop. I mean, no offense to anybody that has. It's just a personal thing for me that I just wanted.
Yeah, and there's always a place for things like that. It's not that they're bad shops or anything like that. It's not that at all, but. Yeah, no, I appreciate that a lot. I still get people looking for jobs like piercing or tattooing like all the time, man. And I'm just like, I can't keep up with it, man. I'm just like, I got my crew, man. I love them. They're like my best friends and my family, man. Yeah.
Well,
they're my
you see
family.
any good one that pops in through your way, we're certainly looking to fill a spot.
Yeah.
So, you could definitely send them our way.
Definitely our peers. Very inspirational.
Oh, dude, yeah.
We love the work that you guys do and the interaction that you have with and how you handle yourself online.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's awesome to have you.
Thanks, dude.
Definitely come back and sit down and have another chat with us.
Yeah, dude, anytime. Just let me know. We'll just chop it up, dude.
Before we go, would you mind sharing your advice as an artist for other people that are artists, or maybe there's like that teenager out there that's in the spot where you were
getting to want to be started in tattooing?
Not necessarily. Just somebody that's passionate about art. Like what? Tattooing's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. Tattooing nowadays, it's like there's people that want to be tattooers, and there's people that chose a bad degree or career path that end up being tattooers, and it's true. But I mean, they're equally
just to fill a void.
But they're equally as valid, and. If you're going to be a tattooer, you get in the industry, it's more like if you're really going to follow art, it's just one of those things that you have to focus on that feeling of what you want to do with it and like what you want to be with it and what keeps your fire going all the time. Because life is going to throw wrenches. It's going to fuck up things. It's not going to allow you to do anything smoothly. And that like thing you feel is always going to get shit done. It's like at the end of the day, passion gives you motivation, but discipline is what keeps the motivation alive. And it's just like if you keep going back into yourself and understanding why you started or why it's important to you or who you want to be or what you want to create and why that's important to you, it's just going to keep you going. And you really just gotta be yourself. I mean, you gotta eat the shit and you gotta shovel the dirt and do all the things to get where you need to go. And don't be prideful about it. Be humble. Learn from anybody and anything you can, even if they're better or worse than you. It doesn't matter. Knowledge is everywhere, and you're never too good to keep learning things. And you just got to be humble and just stay true to yourself. And I know that sounds really fucking cliche, but like that's the only way you're going to get it done the way you want to live your life,
Nope, that's spot on, man.
Yeah.
That's spot on.
It's just, that's the only way, man.
Cliche or not.
Yeah, cliches I started learning. The older I get with some gray hairs growing, cliches are there for a reason, man. Like, I'd be saying some shit sometimes it's cliche, and I'm like, damn, I understand it now. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, it makes more sense now.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, the fact that you do get wiser when you get older, you're just like, damn it, my parents were always right.
I know they were always right, those fuckers.
Get off of my lawn.
Yeah, get off my
lawn. Any other questions? Anything we? No, right on.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, dude. Thanks, man. You guys too.
Much love, dude.
Yeah.
You too.
Absolutely. Make sure you go and subscribe, follow Spotify, YouTube.
Yeah.
And then there's like a little bell. If you click it, you'll be notified about all of our new updates. Yeah. So
Instagram, TikTok, all the places.
We're everywhere.
Smash that like button and take it out to dinner.
Yeah, smash.
Call it in the morning.
Smash it, daddy.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, probably true.
All right. Later.
See ya.
Bye.